I second guess every episode idea. Well, I don't know if it's everyone, but I would say probably 99% of the ideas that I have for this show. I'm like, I don't know if that's going to be any good. And then I fucking sit there wrestling with it. Today's one of those days. So I have stuff that's outlined, but I don't know if I like it or not. So I'm going to do like a fucking stream of consciousness. I don't know if where you just kind of write down everything you're thinking. But so I want to try to just talk on this one thing. I was listening to an interview from Theo Von with a guy named Duncan Trussell or Trussell. I don't know how to say his last name. I'm not familiar with that guy, but something he said was pretty crazy. He said something like, you forget most of the things that you do in life. So it's possible that we're living in a forgotten memory right now, meaning we're going to forget what it is that we're dealing with right now. And I started thinking about that, and I was like, man, that's pretty crazy, because if you start to try to pull those memories up just from random things, like it's like they're gone. Most of the shit that you deal with on a day-to-day basis is just not there anymore. On the flip side, I heard this one thing. This is going to be all over the place. I can already tell. I didn't write shit down. I just thought it would be cool to talk about. So let's see where it goes. But on the flip side of that, I don't remember what book it was, but there was, I think it might have been Psycho-Cybernetics, but don't quote me. I don't remember for sure. But I seem to remember they were talking about when they do certain brain surgeries, maybe all brain surgeries. I'm not sure. Probably not all of them, but certain brain surgeries, they have to have the person conscious. So then when they're like poking around, I know they're getting real technical here, poking around in the brain, but when they're in there doing shit, they need to ask the patient, like how they're feeling and stuff like that to get feedback. That's obviously I don't know I don't know a whole lot about it, but the point is, at one point they said that they were working on some part of the brain, and when if they touched this one part, it sort of transported that person back to a memory that they had forgotten. And it was like not just remembering it, but it was almost like they were there. And so they figured out that part of the brain actually stores everything. So I don't know if it's like you have all those memories, but you can't pull them up. And so sometimes I guess you go through life and then, you'll hear a song and then all of a sudden a memory that was gone comes back. So I wonder what that's all about. Like, I wonder because if you think about, you hear that phrase all the time, or not phrase, but like people will say something like, I don't even remember what I ate for lunch today or yesterday or something like that. How am I supposed to remember all of this stuff? So how does that help having that information? For me, when I heard that, I started thinking a lot about this, and I started thinking about memories and how do you form memories and why do you remember certain things? And it just kind of sent me on all these sort of weird thought processes, and like, I'll just go over them. I don't know, maybe some of this will be helpful. So I thought about one thing. Have you ever had it in your life where, say, you get sort of put into this scenario, how do I explain this? Like where certain memories are more meaningful to you than maybe the people around you. So like I had this one thing popped in my head about it where I ended up hanging around with this group of people some years ago. Like, I don't remember. It was like in the 90s, mid to late 90s or something. Just sort of the environment that I was in was unique and new and all this kind of stuff. So the memories from that time, I spent a short period of time with this group of people, and these group of people had spent a whole lot of time together. So while I was there, I felt like I was like one of those people, part of the group more than I was, because like I was just only there for a short time. But since I was there and it had an impact on me, I have a lot of memories from that time. But then when I talk to those people, they don't remember a lot of the shit that I remember. Like there's even people in that group that don't even remember who I was, because I was just there for such a short period of time, and that group had existed. I think they still even hang out together. So it's like, for me, it was a big deal because I was there, like I was in my own, existence. So when I was there, it was like, I remember all that shit and I remember all those people, but those people have been going, it's almost like if you worked somewhere for 30 years or something, and there's like a core group of people that worked there, you may not remember all the like people that came in and out that were there for just a short period of time. Like, so, but those people that came in and out, that might have been a profound experience for them. So they might remember everything. So it's kind of weird when you think about it. I just wonder if, what do you do with that? I don't even know. I don't even know what you do with that. Well, I do have some, I have some ideas. So, one thing that I was thinking is like, how do you make things more memorable? And there's obviously mindfulness, the stuff that I talk about pretty regularly, like being present in the moment. A lot of times we're not present, and that's kind of why you don't remember things. And it seems like the stuff that you remember is maybe that something stood out, or you were really enjoying yourself during that time, or you were going through something hard, or it was like a new experience, something that it's going to stick with you for a while. So then I started thinking, is it worthwhile to try to cram in as much memorable stuff? Because I wonder, like, is life about creating memories? Because if you think about life, you're only really existing in the present moment, right? So all the time that you lived, even like a minute ago, a second ago, that's already gone. And the time ahead of you hasn't gotten here yet. So really all you have is that present moment. Is all the stuff that you went through before the present moment is the only real value outside of things like, obviously, doing things to accomplish goals, all this stuff. Let's say you want to get in shape, like all the stuff that you've done up until now obviously has led you to getting to where you are now. But like outside of stuff like that, like goal setting and shit like that, like just living your life, isn't it about having memories that you can kind of reminisce on? Isn't that what the past is? Like a memory? So if you're forgetting most of the past, I don't know, I'm kind of tripping out on it a little bit. It just seems kind of, weird. So what I was thinking is, going back to the idea of mindfulness, if you think about it on that level and you're like, well, I want to make sure that I don't forget most of the stuff. Like, I don't know if that's possible, but maybe you could take some steps to remember more things so you have more memories to reminisce on. But then I was thinking, do you have some sort of capacity? So like, let's say you accept the idea that the reason that you remember things is because you had that thing had some sort of impact on you. So for example, if say every day you go to work and then when you come home, you sit with your girl or your boyfriend or whatever and watch Netflix, and then you go to bed and then you do it again. And then maybe on the weekends you go out and do something. And then on the weekends, maybe you remember that stuff, but you don't remember all the times that you were sitting on the couch or doing just the day-to-day sort of just existing type of thing. So if you were thinking about this and you were like, well, I want to create more memorable experiences so that I'll have more memories that I can look back on, then I wonder, is there a capacity to that? Like, let's say you tried to do something every single day that's going to create a memory. Are you still going to forget a bunch of that shit? Like, so then is this the way it's supposed to be? Like, if you look at like animals and shit, they just do what they're supposed to do every day. A lion will hang out with his lion pack and fucking the female lions will go hunt. I don't know what the fuck they do. Like, but animals probably don't even have the same, obviously they don't have the same shit. This sort of like crisis that we have over random shit. Oh man, how am I going to remember everything? Like, that animals don't fucking do. Animals are in the present all the time. So should I even be thinking about this? This is weird. I already know that it's weird, but I just thought it was crazy, man. I just I promise I'm not on any drugs. Just a little caffeine. And I don't know. So what do you do with that? What do you do with that? Do you create more memories? And then that's where I was going with it. Like, let's say you set out to create as many memories as possible. What happens then? Does your capacity for remembering shit grow? So let's say every day you're like trying to create some kind of experience. Because I know, for example, like over the last month, if I try to think about every single thing that Jesse and I have done together, I'm not going to be able to remember all of that stuff. Like, we like to go out to dinner a lot and go out to breakfast. But do I remember every single one of those? I don't, unless like something specific happened. Like, I remember doing it, but I can't differentiate them. But then we went to Sedona and we rented a little like Airbnb cabin thing, and we watched the stars and we did all these different things. We did a little tour of these like energy vortexes and stuff. And I feel like I remember like pretty much everything, even sleeping in the cabin, because it was new. It was something different. You know, we were there in a different environment. So, I mean, I feel like that memory is going to stay with me for a long time. But being able to differentiate every time we go out to dinner, or every time we do go out to breakfast or these kind of things, or take the dogs for a walk. Like, I remember doing all that stuff, but I can't pinpoint that was that time that we did that. But when we went out of town and we created this experience, then you remember that. So I think I've never really felt like I wanted to travel or do any of those kind of things, but I wonder if that's kind of, I mean, that is kind of part of the point. One of my mentors said something like that. Like, I can't remember how he put it, but he was like, I'm spending money on creating memories. So it's like, let's say you're making good money and you like want to buy some material object, like a car or something like that. And you buy the car, and then the first day you have it, you're like, fuck yeah, I got this car. I've been wanting it. And then there's that whole, we talked about this before, but it's like the whole idea of like dopamine. It's kind of like you get all these dopamine releases and you feel good in anticipation of getting the thing. So like, let's say you set your sight on this specific car that you want, and you're thinking about it, and you're going online and you're looking at all the different features and all this kind of stuff, and you're getting more and more excited. That's my understanding. That's the way your brain sort of like helps you move forward in the process. So it's like some shit that's not left over, but it's part of our thing, like working towards the goals. So let's say like this material object is a car. You're feeling good all the steps up until you get it. And then maybe you have some excitement when you get it, but then that's when it starts to drop off, So like, let's say all that anticipation of getting that, I'm just going to stick with it as a car. All that anticipation of getting to the point where you purchase the car, then you get it, and then the shit starts dropping off. So the first day you might be excited, and then you might really like the car. You may always like the car, but it's not as exciting anymore. It's not like this new novelty thing or novel thing that you're working towards. And then once you get it, you start just getting used to it. And you're like, now it's just become a car. Like, maybe if you're a car person, maybe you're like, I love this car, but you're not as excited about it as you were. So when you think about what my mentor was saying is like creating memories, let's say you put that money into some like crazy trip and you went and saw something that you've always wanted to see. Like for me, like I've always wanted to go see the pyramids and all this kind of shit that these like ancient civilizations, like I'm fascinated by how that stuff happened. Like how is that even possible that they did that? Like I would like to see that someday. So when you start thinking about like stuff like that, like what are you going to get more out of, buying some material thing or buying an experience or investing in an experience, especially if it's with like somebody important to you, in your life. So I feel like I need to do more shit like that. I don't know. I'm going to be 50. I'm going to be 50 soon, like this month. So I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. And it goes back to a lot of the things that I've talked about in past episodes, the idea of, you know, making sure that you embrace all the time that you have with your loved ones, you know, like I've been a lot better about that. 'Cause like, fuck, man, it sucks so bad to lose a dog for me. Like I've lost loved ones too. I mean, people, but I spend the most time with my dogs. I'm not saying that it's not putting dogs over people. Well, I don't know, whatever, who cares? I'm using that as an example. So now I've become way better at this because I've lost other dogs in the past. And I look back on those times, and these dogs had great lives. I don't have like big regrets, but there's certain times, like with Shorty, the last time I walked her, I got frustrated with her. You know, I didn't like hit her. I don't do that kind of shit, but it wasn't a good experience. And like, I was like, man, that's the last time I ever walked her, because her health started going downhill. I wish it was a better experience, you know? So when I'm thinking about stuff like that, and I'm looking at my dogs, and I try to remind myself, you know, they're not going to be here forever. So I have to embrace and try to create those moments that you'll remember, you know, when they're here. And I thought the same thing with Cub. Like I didn't create enough memorable experiences with him because I thought he was always going to be here. He was very healthy, you know? So this is something that I've already talked about, but not in the context of I mean, maybe not, maybe it is in the same context, but it's all this sort of spawned the idea that like, if you forget most of the things you do, what does that do? What does that cause you to do? Does that cause you to want to create more memorable experiences? That's what it did for me when I started hearing that. And I also just sort of accepted like, that's probably just part of life also, because you can't just be out doing fucking awesome shit every single day, because I bet it would probably become normal. Like what if you came into money, or, you know, you had enough money, you could literally do anything you wanted to do. And you're like, I'm just going to travel and do all this cool shit and create all these memories. I bet that would even get boring at some point. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like you have to have these sort of, I wonder if you have to have these sort of forgettable experiences in order to really have those memories really mean something to you. Because you hear about it. I mean, you hear about people that they work their whole lives and they make all this money and they sell their company and they're like, now I'm going to do anything I want. I have all this money. I have more money than I'm ever going to need. And they're miserable because they don't have like a thing that's pushing them forward. And I don't know if maybe it's something like what I was talking about. Maybe doing and having everything that you want in life also gets boring and also becomes forgettable. So maybe the whole idea that you forget a lot of shit is actually a benefit to you, because then the stuff that sticks out, that creates that, you know, that feeling you get when a really good memory pops into your head. Like, I wonder if the fact that a lot of life is forgettable is what creates that memory and makes it have such a strong emotion attached to it. All right.
Appreciate each and every one of you guys who are supporting the cause and continue to spread the love. And yeah, stay up.